Yeah, this is a controversial topic. Uh, so Americans say we have like the best bunker busters that can like penetrate 60 meters into hardened concrete. Uh, and the thing is, Iran also has this like missile cities exported to other countries. Like you see some of them in Syria, in Yemen, and in Sudan recently. That Aryan actually did an analysis of on his X. These missile cities, like the only part of them you see is the entrance, which is underground, and everything else is underground. So the only thing that you can destroy is the entrance, which you can, which like the defenders can just fix it with bulldozers. They can push the rubbles apart, and the missile cities is operational again, because the main storage is deep underground and you can't really reach it unless you use ground forces, which would have to go in and clear all of it, which is a hard task. And we actually saw this in Syria. So after the Assad regime fell in Syria, Israel started bombing the missile cities to destroy them, but they failed. They even used several bunker buster bombs to destroy this, but they failed. And they had to use their ground forces to enter the missile cities and clear them out manually. So that just proves how efficient these are against aerial bombings.
All right, welcome to the show. My name is Davani. I'm actually a Bitcoin podcaster, very focused on Bitcoin, but I've got here three brilliant guests and insiders, or experts on a spectrum, on a range of topics in connection with Iranians, with the technologies or military defensive technologies of Iran, if I can call it that. Well, welcome to the show, guys. How are you doing?
And doing good, yes.
Yeah, we're doing good. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, where should we start off? I think it's very important that you guys maybe. Can I just mention your Twitter handles so that people can follow you?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, you can. It's all right.
Okay, so that is. Let me just. Yeah, so that is. I'll put those in the show notes anyway afterwards. But that is based Kisilbash, based Iranian, and based Engelabist, right? So, by the way, my Farsi is like it's just like extremely weak, or I hardly speak Farsi because I moved, to Austria and in the year 1979 with my father. My father has already deceased, so yeah. And so I'm with my family, with my wife and my daughter in Austria, and and I'm actually, for my background myself, I studied law. I did a PhD on the internal documents of the tobacco industry of secret corporations on addictive enhancing technologies, just for you guys, just that you know what my background is. But then since 2017, 18, before I had published, a range, a bunch of books, nonfiction books, scientific books, legal books, and articles. And then since 2017, 2018, I got totally like deep dive into Bitcoin as the root solution for, all our problems. To transform this planet, this world, maybe into a peaceful, sustainable, and thriving and evolutionary, civilization. Hopefully, because at its root, I think it's the money, and I do think Bitcoin connects to everything. It's just connected to to exactly this topic which we're going to talk about. All right. Before I go on a rant, let me just go on a couple of topics which we had planned. I'm not sure whether we have enough time to go into detail, but it would be great if each of you could give a whatever you can disclose about yourself, about your background, about your knowledge, your comprehension. So what are we going to talk? I mean, my my plan is to first of all talk about the incredible technological innovation and advancements in Iran, and that is not restricted to, to be honest with you, to military or defensive technologies. It's actually it's mind blowing. I mean, it shook me to the core. It's many years ago already when I found out. Oh my God! I mean, how is it possible? I mean. What is the philosophy, the ethos, the vision behind it? Who initiated that? Who financed that? Where are these super intelligent brains, intellectuals coming from? So it would be great to maybe talk about the background, because I know there's a speech, by the way, from Khomeini. We did many years ago, where he said maybe it's time that sort of the other nations start copying us, and not that sort of we as Iran, the people of Iran, start copying others. So, and the message was sort of think outside of the box. And I think there were a bunch of university professors, students, maybe even generals, military, and what have you. So maybe you have a little bit more inside knowledge about this speech, or about the background of that route that Khomeini was taking. Yeah, let's go ahead. I mean, there's a bunch of topics, from Iran's missile power to ballistic missiles. A bunch of subtopics, and then of course to air defense, drones, missiles, nuclear technology, naval tech, political commentary by Based and Galavist, and and I have, of course, a bunch of questions. So again, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. And why don't we go ahead and I don't know who wants to start. Aryan?
I will. Hello to everyone. I'm Mohsan, and I study computer science. And I'm gonna start with how Iran started its missile program, because it's the most important part, and it's the starting point of Iran making stuff that is not copied from anywhere. And it goes back to that same speech you mentioned, that it's about the time other countries start copying us. It all started from Iran-Iraq war, when the Iraqis started using the Scud ballistic missiles against Iran, and Iran didn't really have anything against them. There were some basic hawk sites, like hawk SAMs, but they weren't that many, and most of the Iraqi missiles just hit. So there was this guy called Tehrani Muqaddam. He is known as the father of Iranian missile program, because it was his idea that we start making our own missiles, and sort of make them at home, so we're not dependent on other countries, for resources and imports. It all started from Shahab 1 ballistic missile. It was a short range one. The range was about 300 kilometers, not that much. It was the first generation and the starting point of all. Then they developed more. They developed it more, and they made the Shahab 2, and eventually they made the Shahab 3, which was the first fully Iranian missile. Every single part was made and designed in Iran. So the Shahab 3 is known as the father of all Iranian ballistic missiles. And yeah, that's it for now, the start. The other thing is, since Iran has always been sanctioned since the Islamic Revolution, they had to make everything at home. If you look at the commanders like General Hajizadeh, he said many times that we can't buy latest military tech, we have to make them at home. Like even our friends, like Russia and China, which are kind of our friends, do not sell their latest stuff. Like this Su 55,
Mhm.
57, sorry. They don't sell it to us because we're sanctioned. And Iran has reached a point in its technology that other countries are copying us now. Like Yemen is a prime example of copying Iranian designs and making their own missiles. Then the next topic is the Iranian drones, which also started in between the Iran-Iraq war, where Iraqis used several American and Israeli-made drones to strike Iranian commanders and bases, and Iran didn't have anything. So they like reverse engineered some that they had captured earlier. They reverse engineered it, and it started the Mohajer program, Mohajer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which Mohajer 6 was the first fully Iranian one that was fully designed, planned, and produced in Iran. Uh, yeah, my friend will handle the rest. This was just the starting point.
Mhm. Mhm. Let me. Yeah, that was great. By the way, you mentioned something very important, which I should have. I wanted actually to emphasize in the beginning. Now, people, I don't know, most people I don't know are not really so aware of the so many decades long of systemic pervasive sanctions and embargoes, where the the people of Iran, had to, endure and suffer under, right? I mean, with
Yeah,
medical, stuff, or I don't know, whatever. I'm not sure, with maybe even food or whatever. But
yeah.
it's,
Basically, everything is sanctioned. It's part of the U.S. embargo slash sanction on Iran. Uh, it's they blame it on the Iranian nuclear program, but it's the roots are much deeper,
yeah.
and it's the roots are the Iranians viewing Americans as the enemies because of the political stuff that happened in the Pahlavi regime,
Yeah.
where the Americans had a lot of influence in the government, and the
Not only
revolutionaries.
the Americans, I mean, let's just call it, I don't know what to call it, Anglo-American, Zionist, Israel,
Yeah,
kind of like complex,
yeah,
like financial central banking complex or whatever, right?
yeah,
But
something
I
like
just
that.
wanted to say that because of that pain, suffering of the, of that creation of scarcity and all the pain and the suffering that people had to undergo, because out of that necessity, I think people become creative, and I think that was
Yes,
the core message I wanted to get through is like,
yeah,
because of that, I
exactly.
think the Iranian people and whatever Khamenei, what do you call it, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the decision
Yeah.
makers, the professors, all the establishment, the intellectuals. I think there was a aha moments like, yeah, we got to create our own stuff. We got to think outside the box and just yeah. That's sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, you want to go ahead? I mean, I don't know, Aryan or Ali, or do you want to?
I'll continue. So what he said regarding the nuclear program is that yeah, Iran uses it for civilian intents, unlike other countries, which I'm not going to mention because it's pretty obvious in the region that use it for more malicious intents. But I'm not sure if you're aware that Iran broke Germany's monopoly on producing rhenium 188, the anti-skin cancer radioactive isotope medicine, a couple of weeks ago actually. And nobody knows about it, but if it was another country,
I
it
read
would be
about it.
like going crazy. Yeah. And what he said about drones, yeah, Iran made its first drone in the Iran-Iraq War. It was the Mohajer, which could only capture aerial photos at the time, and it worked very well in Operation Karbala, I think the third one, if I remember correctly, where they took images of artillery that Saddam had used against Iran, and they ended up taking them out in the next few weeks. I've made various threads on Iran's drones, and I'm gonna cover the most infamous one. The Shahed family. I'm aware. Okay. The Shahed 131, 136, and 238 are getting hella recognition because they're used the most in the Russo-Ukraine war, and they've turned the tides of it. The Shahed 131 is the starter of the family. It has a piston engine, a similar triangular form, and a payload of 50 kilograms, as far as I know. The production cost is 10,000 to 50,000, so it outbreaks any other type of surface-to-air missile that wants to shoot it down. So it's just loss of money for the defender. Then there's the Shahed 136. The Russian designation is Geron 2, and it just goes with the Geron name. So Geron 1, Shahed 131, Geron 2, Shahed 136, and Shahed 238 is Geron 3. Do you have any questions since you're unmuted or no?
No. Go ahead. I just wanted to
okay.
screen share a little bit so people can just follow along a little bit.
So, as I was saying, the Shahed 136 is an upgraded version of the Shahed 131. Its specs are not very known. But let's say it's the most famous one, and whenever you hear about Iran, it's what pops into your brain, especially when you talk about the Russia-Ukraine war. And then you have the Shahed 238, which isn't used a lot, but it's the turbojet variant, which has a heavier payload, but at the same time it costs more since it's turbojet, so the engine costs way more. But at the same time, its price is still way cheaper than any efficient SAM or anti-aircraft artillery, depending on the maintenance cost. Then the other infamous families of Iran's drone empire program, or the Kaman, Mohajer, Ababil, Shahed, like I said, and that's basically it. There may be some else, the Qasef, which is a variant of the Ababil, which is self-loitering, used in Lebanon by Hezbollah mostly. And that's basically it as far as I know about drones. Unless, if you want me to specify anything, let me know. I just don't want to go like one by one into each thing because it will take long.
Yeah, I thought maybe we can do a more comprehensive overview so people can somehow get a bigger picture, and then we can go into details. But it doesn't matter. Aryan, you can go.
Let me know.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you have any questions or no?
Right now, not. No.
Okay.
Thanks. Aryan, do you want to continue, or I'm sorry, Ali?
Yes. I would like to get back to when you were talking about the committee. When you said about other nations have started to copy us. I wanted to. Is my mic good or no?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Is my background too bad or no?
Yeah, it's not like super optimal, but we can hear you pretty.
Yeah. 2 seconds. I will fix it.
Thanks.
Yes. Is it better now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Yeah. I would. I want to talk about when you mentioned earlier about the speech he said about where countries are starting to copy us, right? When he mentioned that, it was a really powerful statement of the influence that was growing, yeah, on the global stage. Countries they started to look at us more seriously now. They thought we were not as developed as people thought. Um, Despite sanctions, isolation attempts, and propaganda stuff like that, we are starting to become up on the stage. Countries are starting to take us more serious now. Western powers, regional governments, and adversaries, stuff like that, always addressing Iran's roles, like relations into resistance movements, oil policies, strategic stuff like that, especially alliances with like Russia, China. I think Aryan talked on that earlier. But this is really being ignored, dismissed like that, being discussed, calculated every major decision with what the committee was highlighting. It's really more of recognition, in my opinion. It means Iran's no longer seen as like a marginal state. It's now viewed more of a force with ideological, political, and military weight stuff. Um, Stuff like that. Was there anything else you mentioned? I could go on, yeah. And I would like to mention Iran is the only country in the region that could stand a chance fighting against Israel, Turkey. Um, we are the only dominants in the Middle East that can even go against them like that. Was there any else topics you mentioned?
No, that's basically it. But I mean, one thing that might be not even directly, it's just the question is like how. I mean, there's a lot of even experts and geopolitical analysts who say it's amazing that Iran or the leadership of Iran has been so patient. You know, like it's like you get bullied and bullied and bullied and attacked and whatever, psyoped and false flags and I don't know, all kinds of provocations. And I mean,
Lied about a lot.
yeah, I mean, what would it take? You know, it's like this. It must be. I mean, it shows also the maturity, right, of the whatever Iranian military, political, or whatever governmental leadership that just at the right time, the right action, right. So, but the way it looks like, it's like that whoever whatever whether it be Israel or the whole complex behind it, they are trying at whatever costs. I mean, what it's like mind-boggling. It's like even for the sake of self-preservation, because they know exactly if they attack Iran, Iran will definitely. I mean, this is. I mean, what was it? Operation Promise 1 and 2. And I think that a lot of generals they said Operation, Promise 3 or whatever, the next operation will be like devastating. So they know they have. I mean, how many missiles are there in total? Is it like 100,000 missiles or something with 10
Well, on this specific topic, there is not really official information. It's just guesses, and the guesses are it's like about 10,000 ballistic missiles and more than 100,000 cruise and other rockets. So it's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I mean, just to understand the sheer size and technological innovation and advancement. I mean, we're talking like super defense. I mean, I've even heard about Iran having developed their own, partially at least, like components domestically, developed and produced, like radar that can show exactly, like you can even put them in the mountains. Where there's usually not a good reception.
Yeah,
The
Right?
OTHs.
these are the over the horizon radars. The names just suggest what it does. These radars usually have a huge range, like more than 1,000 kilometers, like huge range for a radar. What they do is they are used as early warning systems. They are not like really accurate, but they can make you aware of the dangers before they get close. Like you can see that some fighters from Israel are approaching. You can't really lock onto them, but you know they are coming, so you can get ready. You have time to prepare. And Iran has like a huge over the horizon network with different components. The main one is the Qadir radar with a range of 1,100 kilometers, and Iran has 10 of these radars across the country. The other type of the radar used is the Nazir radar with a range of 800 kilometers. And these Nazir type radars are on top of the mountains, as you mentioned, in really high elevation areas, so they can see the enemies better, if you may. There's also one of the Nazirs is the Khalij Fars type, which is designed to monitor the vehicles that are on the sea, like ships and aircraft, because radars work differently in water. Uh, the other thing about the Nazi radar is it's 3D, which is not common in over the horizon radars. So it's like a special thing that Iranians have. And all these technologies are developed by the IRGC.
That's amazing. Now, I mean, are there any like what should I say, military structures, or I don't know, or equipment, or defensive technologies that are not so, or that are might be still, or should have the potential to, for more development, or is something lacking or missing, or I don't know. They're talking about, like, for example, fighter jets or whatever, Su-35. What is it, like Russian? Is that something where Iran is still like behind, or
Yes.
I mean, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we're very behind on the Air Force, especially to the point that we rely on the air defense. So Iran's pretty defensive in this case, as you've seen. Operation True Promise 1 and 2, we attacked with surface-to-surface missiles. Whilst when Israel attacked, they used air-launched missiles because their air force is pretty good. But at the same time, Iran's air defense prevailed. So we're very reliant on the defensive structure.
So I want to talk about the IRGC and what it does, so you can get a better idea. So the IRGC is the main military entity in Iran. It was established after the revolution. It's like uh, a military entity side by side with the main army, but they are not the same. So Iran does have an army. It has its own air force, ground force, and naval force. So they're all separate. And the IRGC has its own divisions, like the IRGC ground force, air force, aerospace force, naval force, and it also has two special divisions that other countries do not have. One of them is the Basij. So the idea of Basij is like you start to you start some programs so you can uh, like how do I put it? You can make children learn more about the military. It's a program where like teens, children, and even adults can join, and it's like a program where you teach them about basic military stuff like how to use guns, and it does have some propaganda aspects too, but the main reason and objective of the Basij force is to familiarize teens about the Iranian military. The other special force Iran has, the IRGC has, is the Quds force or Quds, which is like the IRGC but outside of Iran. So you mainly see it in Syria, Iraq. Its main purpose is proxy warfare, and well, these two are unusual in other military entities outside outside Iran. The main one that is on the topics, on the news topics every time, is the IRGC Aerospace Force, Iran's main missile force. Like almost all Iranian missiles are controlled by this force, the Aerospace Force, which is led by General Hajizadeh, which has mentioned that Iran has these things called missile cities, which are underground bases across the country that have a lot of missiles in them. Like they are both used as a storage for the missiles and the launch platform for a lot of them. And he mentioned Iran has more than 100 of these bases. Like imagine a base like 200, 300 meters under the ground.
Yeah, this is very impressive. How do they do that? I mean, are these like the super nuclear powered diamond, whatever? I mean, these are gigantic things, right? I mean,
Yeah.
did they develop it themselves, or did they get those huge? I mean, I know I've seen. I mean, not I've seen them pictures, of course, on documentaries, but they're like huge, and they can go like incredible speed, like just
Yeah.
drill deep.
Yeah. So the thing is, Iran does have the technology to make these at home, but for the earliest of time, like ever since the establishment of the IRGC, Outer Space Force, they always used the foreign ones because we didn't have the technology back then, but we do now. And since Iran has developed the technology to make these mining devices, the speed of making these underground bases has accelerated a lot. Like it's 5 times, 10 times faster because we have more of these devices, and all of these uh, are underground, as I mentioned, and are hardened concrete. So like they're super secure.
Yeah.
They're like atomic nuclear bunkers, but they
Uh-huh.
have missiles in them. So that's
So
the
they
point.
cannot be really penetrated. I mean, even
Yes,
with
they
the
can't.
what do you call them, the super or whatever
The
penetrating
bunker busters, I
bunker
think you mean.
busters or whatever. I mean,
Yeah. So
I mean, maybe it's going to shake some things up, but it's not really like. I mean, it has to. It would have to go like hundreds of meters, right, deep into the.
So yeah, this is a controversial topic. So Americans say we have like the best bunker busters that can like penetrate 60 meters into hardened concrete. Concrete. Uh, and the thing is, Iran also has this like missile cities exported to other countries. Like you see some of them in Syria, in Yemen, and in Sudan recently. That Aryan actually did an analysis of on his X. These missile cities, like the only part of them you see is the entrance, which is underground, and everything else is underground. So the only thing that you can destroy is the entrance, which you can, which like the defenders can just fix it with bulldozers. They can push the rubbles apart, and the missile cities is operational again, because the main storage is deep underground and you can't really reach it unless you use ground forces, which would have to go in and clear all of it, which is a hard task. And we actually saw this in Syria. So after the Assad regime fell in Syria, Israel started bombing the missile cities to destroy them, but they failed. They even used several bunker buster bombs to destroy these, but they failed. And they had to use their ground forces to enter the missile cities and clear them out manually. So that just proves how efficient these are against aerial bombings.
Okay, let me transition to this question because I mean I've been thinking like I'm thinking of scenarios. I mean you probably more better, much better analysts and experts on this. But I mean during the Iran-Iraq war, I mean I still have family in Iran, so I with a family and not independently. I mean I do care about all human beings and the prevention of damage of destruction and how many people died during the Iran-Iraq in total? Like was it like a million or?
Yes, it was a million casualties for both sides combined.
But also in Iran is like lots of young people, right? I mean,
Yeah, the thing about that war specifically is Saddam Hussein used a lot of chemical weapons, which are against the Geneva Convention and are like actual war crimes. And he used them against civilians, so makes it even worse.
yeah.
And several thousand people in Iran still have diseases like lung cancer because of those chemical weapons.
Right. So and yeah, and then of course Iran at that time, wasn't that advanced, right? During the Iran war,
Yeah.
didn't have like the minimum. What do you call it? Like defensive, missile.
Yes.
I don't know who helped them. I mean, in the end, I mean, or what was it? Was it just the end? The war ended.
So
Yeah.
so we're back to your point. So the more restricted you are, the more creative you become. The Iranian missile. So here's the thing. Let me say this first. So if imagine you're a mechanical engineer, yeah, you can't really make a car by yourself without previous knowledge. So that's what Iran did. Iran purchased some plans from North Korea on North Korean version of Scud missiles, and that allowed Iranians to learn and experiment with it, add more stuff, and eventually Iran got the necessary technology to make them at home, design new ones, design the ones that are completely different. And recently they unveiled their hypersonic weapons, which not many countries have it. Like I think it's only four countries have it.
How many Mach, by the way, are we talking about when we talk about, like, I don't know, supersonic, hypersonic?
So here, these are some words which confuse people. So subsonic is anything below Mach 1 or slower than the speed of sound. Supersonic is anything above Mach 1, so it's faster than sound. Hypersonic is usually placed at above Mach 10, and the Fatah 1 is Mach 15. So it's really, really fast.
Now, I'd like to know your opinion. I mean, all of you. I mean, have you played out like scenarios in your head? I mean, when if if shit hits the fan, and and there's a like deliberate like, attack or whatever, like the whole thing blows up, Middle East. I mean, and they even do me. I mean, have you done like scenarios in your head, like minimum scenario, maximum scenario with the allied forces coming from all kinds simultaneously? I mean, how is Iran prepared? How would you like improve things from your perspective? Or
So we have run many military analysis and simulations. Other than that, the other thing is Iran has a really, really good like geographical structure and placement. If you look at the topological map of Iran, you see that like the western part of Iran is protected by the Zagros mountain range. The north is protected by uh, Tabriz mountain range and the Alborz. Like they act like natural defenses, and the eastern part of Iran is just desert. Like you can't do anything; it's just desert. And these things are have their pros and their cons. So one of their main cons is a huge mountain will like make it harder for you to travel across the country. Same with deserts. You can't really make cities in middle of deserts. So that's why most of Iranian population density is in the flatter lands that are not deserts. All of these act like natural defenses for Iran. Other than that, here's the thing about Iran and the IRGC. They have. Wait, hold on a second. Aryan, go on for a second.
What he said about the geography is completely right. And I wanted to comment on the OTH, the Over the Horizon Radar Network. As Mohsen spoke about before, there's over 20 radars at the moment. So the main one is the Gadir with 1,100 kilometers range, and there's 10 known by the, let's say, the open source community. But we've also found another 2 being constructed at the moment. But of course, we're not going to post about them yet because it's kind of like against security reasons. Nazir's, there's 3, of which one is the Khalij Fars variant, and then there's a couple other radars that are very underlooked because there's not much in quantity. But the Kayhan, which is a mobile over the horizon radar, which has been spotted only once or twice as far as I know, and I've also spotted it and posted it on my Telegram channel, our Telegram channel. And also the high frequency surface wave radars, which are placed on the coast accordingly with the Persian Gulf to help detect ships and let's say postal objects and vehicles. Mohsen has made a thread about the high frequency surface wave radars, as far as I know. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is the mobile radar network. As we spoke about the over the horizon radar network, that's vulnerable because they're fixed. You cannot move them, and without air defense protecting them, they can just get hit. As we saw in the Israeli offense on October 26, which hit a Gadir radar in Ahvaz, and another in Elam. However, the Elam one shouldn't be that big of an issue because it was under construction. And judging by satellite imagery, the main emitters that are placed on the corners of the radar weren't still placed, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. However, in Avos, much damage was done, and we're not sure if they've been repaired yet, as we don't really have any photos to confirm it. But it's likely, as 6-8 months have passed now or something. So 6 months, yeah. And what I wanted to talk about was the mobile radar network. Last thing on the OTH is we recently discovered the Shahed radar, which has a range of 3,000 kilometers, and it's the first OTH backscatter radar, which means that it can detect very small radar cross section vehicles, planes, or drones. Whilst at the same time, a couple months ago, it was found out that Iran is building another over the horizon backscatter network with 6 radars at the moment. Most of them are concentrated in the south of the country, as far as I know. And these, let's say, the radars are huge. I also have a couple of pictures of them in real life. And let's say that the Gadir, taking the comparison, the antennas on the new radar are 50% bigger than the middle mast on the Gadir. So it's way, way bigger. So the range is going to be absolutely huge. And some of them are nearing completion. And they're mostly spotted on islands, like Kashmir, Lavon, etc. The next thing was the mobile radar network. So if you can look at my camera, there's an infographic. Can you see it well, or is it like bad? Okay, so the backbone of Iran's mobile radar network, which is good against let's say anti-stealth, is the Matla Faj, which is a radar that has 4 variants. Recently, the 4th was discovered by me, and I had posted it, which is an upgraded variant of the Nebo radar, the Russian Nebo. But for now, we'll be talking about the 1, the 2, and the 3 variants, which is the backbone of Iran's mobile anti-stealth radar network. And there are, at the moment, around over, like, let's say 30 roaming the country all actively. And the thing about this is they function with the Rasul communication shelter, which, again, functions in many ways. Let's say, as you know, Iran's Air Force is very behind. It's pretty shitty, let's say. So the Rasul can send a ultra high frequency or very high frequency link to an airbase interceptor. And let's say whilst an enemy plane is outbound, low on fuel, has used its weapons, has used its ammunitions, the planes can already have a lock and will already know where the plane is despite not seeing it. So they'll be one step ahead. After this, the MATLAB patch, you can usually see it in areas where SAM battery is nearby. Matter of fact, yes, it does cooperate with the SAM battery, so it's used as an early warning. So even if the fire control radar of the surface-to-area missile battery cannot see the target or lock onto it, the MATLAB patch will let it know and it can see it. And once it's in range, it can detect and lock onto it. And then, of course, the launcher will fire. And depending on accuracy, it can hit or miss. And once again, yes, it communicates also with the command and control center of the SAM battery. Of course, if it helps the radar, it's going to help the command post as well. And then the other main thing is it can connect to a central command. So let's say the headquarters of the aerospace force. And then the 3 variants, you can differentiate them by like this. One of them has 3. The one has 3 masts, and it only has 1 set of masts. As you can tell, it's pretty short. The second one has 4 masts and 2 sets. And you see on every single antenna, there's a little like rectangle at the end.
Mm-hmm.
On the 3, you don't see that. It's just straight. And there's 5 masts each and 2 sets. Mm-hmm. The most common one throughout the country is the 2, though. That's the one you'll be seeing the most. And then, Mohsen, would you like to continue with the air defense?
Yes. So here the other thing about the Iranian air defense systems is that they're like 80% of them are domestically produced. We're back onto the topic of Iranians making their own stuff. And so with that, Iran has like several generations and types of SAM systems or surface to air missiles or systems, whatever you call it. The other important part to mention is, as I mentioned, Iran has 2 main military entities: the main army and the IRGC, and each of these 2 have their own air defense systems and divisions. Mm-hmm. The Iranian army has the Iranian Army Air Defense Force, and the IRGC has the Aerospace Force, as mentioned earlier. If you look at Aryan's camera, you can see an infographic about 4 of these systems. The main one that you see across the country is the 15th Khordad, or 15 Khordad. And the other ones are Joshan and Talash used by the army, and you can see they have different tails or transport elector launchers, which are basically the launchers of the missiles. They have their radars, which are different, and they also have different auxiliary vehicles, like command vehicles. They are not really that important. The main things are the tails and the radars, which you can see. And the last one is a mix of the tech used by the army and the tech used by the IRGC, which is the Sayad system, and it's the primary air defense system used by the IRGC. And all of these systems have proved effective against the Israeli strike on Iran. And like all of them, almost all of them have confirmed kills, which are enemy missiles. And Aryan will continue after this.
Okay, so as I was saying, there, as he said, as Mohsen said, there's four main systems, which are Joshan, Bonzama Khordad, Talosh, Sayad. And the thing about these is differentiating them, because you see where I wrote down Sayad 2/3 tel. They are all the same, despite of course the IRGC one having a different camouflage. But when you see the tel, so the launcher, when you see the launcher, you cannot tell what system it is because it's generic. So when you see what radar that thing uses, that's when you can determine what name or what system that is. And other countries aren't like this because they're all separate. So if I saw, let's say, a generic Sayad 2 or 3 tel, and I saw, let's say, no radar next to it, I can't identify it. But if I saw Joshan, I can just say, okay, that system is a Joshan. And then let's say if next year they use the exact same launcher, but they just put another radar next to it, I can say, oh yeah, it's Talosh. And that's really the pain in the ass in identifying stuff. And they also name stuff all the same for some reason. Iran likes doing that. No idea why.
So here's a funny thing about the Iranian military technology and stuff is the naming is actually pain in the ass. Like there are several things named the same. Like if I would tell you like I have a Carrar, for example, you wouldn't understand because Carrar is a drone or it's a main battle tank. Like there are many uh, occasions on this, like same stuff having the same name. The worst example is the Kavosh. Like most of the time where things have the same name, they're different things. Like for example, one of them is a drone, one of them is a missile, one of them is a tank, for example.
Mhm.
This, if you look at Aryan's camera, this is the worst example. There are two completely different radars with the exact same name, the Kavosh, and it's really confusing, and it confuses a lot of people, even the experts. And Aryan made a really useful infographic on how to identify these two. One of them is a copy of the Russian Kasta 2E,
Mhm.
which is which is a radar primarily used in the S300 system, and the other one is a copy of AN MPQ 50, as you can see on the infographic, and they're completely different. Their use cases are different, but they have the same name. Aryan would continue on this.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is coming back to this. Each system has an upside and a downside. So I'll start off with the Talosh, the third one. Okay, so the Talosh, you can see it with either 4 launchers, so 4 missiles ready, or 2 on each launcher. But most of the time you'll see with 2. But the main issue about this is the fire control radar, the OFO, can only track 1 launcher at a time. So let's say if there's 2 missiles coming to one site, it cannot shoot 2 and track 2. It will have to shoot 1, and then once it hits, it can shoot the second. If not, one of them is just gonna lose itself. It won't hit the target. And about this, that's one downside. And then you have the Mohsan Khordad, which it's my personal favorite. I love the radar on it. It's AESA, so active electronically scanned array. And it's been the one that, in my opinion, it's proved the most effective, and I think it has the most density in the country. And then the Joshan, also a good system, but the problem is that the radar is not active, it's passive, so it cannot emit signals. It will have to wait for the signal to come to it. Then you have the Sayyad, which is basically it's let's say the Tailash if it was for the IRGC with of course different camouflage and a different radar.
So the other confusing thing is between active and passive radars, which I think I have to explain. So these are the two main types of radars you see on the field for almost every country. How they work is like, if you know how bats work, like the animal's bat,
Right.
they can't really see, so they use like ultrasonic sounds
Mhm.
and use their reflection to find where they're going. That's how active radars work. It's like you shouting in a huge area and wait for the echo to come back, and you know like what's in front of you, like the type, the shape. That's how active radars work, which is easily, which is how most of stealth fighter jets, you hear the word stealth a lot. What they do is they use a special paint on their bodies to absorb these signals, so they never go back to the radar. So the radar can't really see it, and that's how it's stealth. But with every technology, there is a counter technology, and the radars have several systems and frequencies to detect these stealth radars. For example, the X-band radars that are on the X-band, have like really high frequency that can go through the paint. So the paint doesn't really do that much, if you know what I mean. And back to the topic of main radars is the passive radars, which do not emit any signals on their own and wait for the signals for the fighter jet. Let's say our enemy is a fighter jet. Wait for their signals to come to detect it. Most of the fighter jets, like the F-35 and F-22, have active radars, so they emit their own signals to find what's in front of them. And the passive radars just sit there and wait for the enemy radars to activate and find them, which has its own upsides and downsides. The upside and the pros are it uses less power, it's more efficient, and it's not detectable by enemy. The enemy never sees it coming. And the cons is, well, if the enemy doesn't use any radars, these passive radars can't do anything. It's like basically invisible to them. And the active radars have their own pros and their own cons. The pros are it can almost detect anything unless it doesn't exist. So pretty much everything. The downsides are they usually use a lot of power and they're easily detected by enemy, especially the enemy electronic warfare systems, which is its own topic, its own huge topic on electronic warfare systems.
You mean like jamming and I don't know,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the active radars work like they send signals and wait for it to come back. They can easily be jammed by enemy systems. So let's go back to our bat example. The bat like screams in ultrasonic to send sound signals and waits for them to come back. And if like us humans just make a lot of sound on that exact sound frequency, the bat will get confused. It can't find anything. That's exactly the same with radars. If the enemy emits random signals on the same frequency, the radar can't see anything, which again makes the other side make radars resistant to electronic warfare systems, which Iran has a lot of them. Like especially the Khalij Fars, it cannot be jammed. It's like it jumps between frequencies, so enemy doesn't know what frequency it's working in and can't really jam it. That's a prime example. Oh, the other thing, back to the SAM systems, is the Iranian Bavar SAM system, which is a long-range SAM system with over 300 kilometers range. The thing to note is that not many countries have this technology. Like I think it's like 8, 10 countries in the whole world that have the technology to make the SAM systems that are over 300 kilometers in range. And the other thing is the Bavar is fully domestic. It's not developed from any foreign systems. It was all designed by Iranians from the scratch.
Mhm.
And
Oh.
it's like you can't say it's the best SAM system Iran has. It's the most accurate. It has the biggest range. It has the latest technologies that Iran has. In fact, the technologies this radar has, this SAM system has, are so like good or new, you can say, that they're not even named yet. Like they're so cutting edge that are not announced.
Mhm.
Aryan will continue more on this topic.
Mohsen said, yeah, it's completely designed and made in Iran, but we cannot say that it rules out complete inspiration from the Russian S-300 system, which was Iran's first long-range air defense. Which, yes, it has been slightly damaged. I'm not sure if you've heard about the damages in Operation Days of Repentance or no.
No, not really. No.
Okay, so in the series strike, of course, they claim that every single system was taken out, but out of everything, only 2 radars were taken out, and it was the fire control radar, which is primary. So if Iran wanted to deploy, they got 4 batteries. They have 4 batteries. They have them all intact, but they can only deploy 2 of them because they only have 2 radars to control the missiles. So it's partially disabled. So as you can tell, the launchers don't have much similarity, as the Balbat also has a mast in the middle with the extra illumination radar, the little mast, and then these are the radars. You can see at the top the 2 fire control radars, then the acquisition radars. You can tell they look fairly similar, so there is inspiration. And then the battle management radar. So this is the Mirage 4, the Iranian one on the left, and the Big Bird on the right, the Russian Big Bird. And then you have the command and control post of the Bavar and the 54K6E2 Russian command post. I didn't mention the names of these 4 radars because the Bavar ones are unnamed. They haven't been named yet, so there's no point in mentioning it.
I'm sorry. What's the super advantage of these? Of these systems, or
So the Bavar has a range of over 300 kilometers, so it can really intercept many things from far distance. And about the detection, there's barely anything known about the Bavar specs wise because nothing's been announced yet. But range wise, we know it's almost double. It's more than double. No, wait, it's not. It's almost double the S300.
Mhm.
So it's around 320 or so.
Mhm.
And then here's analysis on one of the sites. I'm not sure if you can read well or it's too little. I can zoom in if you want.
it's not readable, but maybe you can. Thanks.
So you have the classic setup. You would have more than one launcher, but it's not fully operational at the moment. But you have the engagement radar, the acquisition radar, the command and control unit, and the generator vehicle, which provides power to the radars. And this was seen south of Tehran.
Mm-hmm. So, for the people who are listening, it might be just overwhelming to, wow, this is amazing. I mean, the technical details you guys know is amazing. I mean, the technological insights you have. But can we just zoom out? I mean, in your personal assessment, all of you, I mean, is Iran capable of protecting not only, material objects and infrastructure and, but the people of Iran? This is actually my core question. How advanced is Iran in your opinion? And by the way, some of the generals said, as you had mentioned, he said, we have some secret technology still, weapons that we haven't still disclosed. I mean, you don't have to, if you have some notion of it, but you don't need to talk. But is it like is going to be a super surprise? Is it like a totally different technology, or is it something more advanced on a conventional basis?
So here's the main thing. Iran has mentioned several times that it does not want nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So put that aside.
The question is actually, does Iran actually, this is my question to you. I mean, the core question, which I want to come to, is that, in my opinion, I'm convinced that Iran does not need nuclear weapons at all. Not only because of the ethical, because, it's whatever, religious and ethical values behind it, but because they have the defensive technologies, which I think is rooted in in plasma technology, which is again derived from the research of the out of the nuclear technology and research. Because I think Iran has the most brilliant brains when it comes to But I don't know. Do you want to go into that rabbit hole, or is that something you don't?
So,
Yeah.
so here's the thing: Iran has the technology to make nuclear weapons. It has proved that it has the enriched uranium and all that stuff. But Iran mentioned and said many times that it does not want nuclear weapons unless necessary. Like, if the enemy is using nuclear weapons, you kind of would have to use nuclear weapons in response. But other than that, there have been rumors of like some plasma weapons that are being developed by Iran. Nothing is known on them. Like, there is no official saying. There
Of
is no
course.
pictures. There is no specs.
No, it's
They're
highly,
super
highly
secretive.
secret and compartmentalized, like in all other countries, especially
Yeah.
U.S., Russia, and China. I mean, they've been doing this for decades, and I mean, the science is there, technology is there. I think that the brains are in Iran to connect the dots, and I think they've been working on it. And to be honest with you, I think the way they captured that. Remember that favorite toy of whatever without almost a scratch, and by deactivating even the self detonation system. I think, in my personal opinion, I think that was plasma technology. I think they captured it with plasma technology and then reverse engineered and made even a better optimal version out of it. Do you think it's realistic or?
So I think you're mentioning the RQ 117 incident, which was American drone it was hacked. There wasn't like any plasma weapons involved or anything.
All right.
It was hacked by the Iranian electronic warfare systems, and they managed to land it perfectly fine, and they reverse engineered it and made the Shahed 161, 171, 181, and 191, which are different generations. And the latest generation of these is the Sa'eghe radar. It's like not part of any main families. And here's the other thing: is like one of these drones, they all look the same, so you can't really tell them apart. So Sa'eghe, Shahed 161, 171, 181, they all look the same, so you can't really tell them apart. They were used in Syria by the Syrian government, and Israelis shot one down. And when they went and found the wreckage, they mentioned that it was highly advanced, like even more advanced than the original RQ 170. So it means not only Iranians reverse engineered it, they improved the design and made it even better.
Wow.
The other thing is about Iranians being smart. Yes, Iran is actually ranked in the top 5 by IQ. Like, Iranians have an average IQ of 106, which is in the top 3 actually.
And I
And
think it's also because of the selection system in universities and schools. I mean, don't you guys? I mean, it's like super stringent and strict. The selection system, you get like the best brains. They have to pass all kinds of exams and right. And you see how I don't know how intelligent or creative or.
yeah. So the other thing is, there are two main points. First is the free education in Iran. Like, all education up until universities are completely free. There are some like paid schools which are obviously better, but the education is free for everyone. Other than that, is the Iranian education system has like actual like high level stuff in it, like the Iranian textbooks and other stuff. It's like comparable to China. If you know, like, China is known to have like the hardest textbooks, the most advanced one, like all this stuff. The quality of education is like better than other countries in Iraq, other countries in the world. So that's one point. And yes, there's the like I think you are talking about the concours, which is like a huge exam that everyone that finished a school has to take to go into universities. The better you do, you go to better universities, and that's the thing
Mhm.
that like it convinces students to study more, to get better grades, better ranking, to go to better universities, and obviously better education. And the other thing is the Iranian drone program is so huge that Aryan is now going to open up more about the Iranian drones. This education stuff is not really that important in my opinion, because like these things are the things that can be like you can see them in charts and statistics, but the main point of this interview, which is, in my opinion, Iranian military technology, is you can't really see it in statistics, because you would need analysis on this stuff
Mhm.
other than like, whoa, numbers. If we have a lot of numbers, they don't really mean that much. Yeah.
All right, great.
Well, what Mohsen said about the Shahed 141151161 etc etc, the stealth Shaheds, which were produced after the hacking of the RQ-170 and reverse engineering it. I'm going to show some pictures which I took myself actually. So this is a Shahed 191. As you can tell, it looks exactly like the RQ-170. Here you have the 191. It's again similar to RQ-170, and here you have the 161, which it's basically the same thing but a bit smaller.
Okay,
As you thought.
can you translate? I mean, I'm sorry, not translate. But can you just in plain English, like what are the features of this? How is it used? What's the advantage of this for?
So as far as I know, some can be armed with air-to-ground missiles, air-to-ground guided bombs, but they're extremely good for reconnaissance and taking real-time imagery, mostly.
Okay.
And then the Shahed 171.
Wow.
These are all taken at the exhibition I went to. Oh, that's it. For these, they look very similar, as you can tell. You can barely differentiate them. And yeah, that's it. And now Ali will continue.
Can I just throw in a question? I mean, what is your perception? I mean, or what's the feeling like within the population? I mean, do they feel secure if something if something happens? And I mean, do they feel protected? The people what's the perception of the people like in general?
So here's the thing. You mentioned a great point. So the general Iranian population doesn't really know a lot about military stuff, as in all countries. Like the general population doesn't even need to know about the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in Iran specifically, there are like many opposition groups against the current regime. The main one being the Pahlavi one, which are like trying their best to ruin the view and
Yeah.
image of the Iranian military against Iranian people. So like, whoa, Iran is so weak. Iran doesn't even have any stuff like that, which uh, ruins the perception of people eh, on actual stuff. It's all just propaganda, like the opposition propaganda that is ruining everything. If you go into the streets and ask, many of them will just say, nah, bro, Iran is weak, bro. Like, damn, Iran can't defend itself. It's all of this is caused by the propaganda on the of the opposition groups. But like the other thing is like the funny thing is like 99% of these opposition groups are not even based in Iran itself.
Yeah.
They're,
Exactly. Yeah.
they're like in US. They have like even never even been in Iran. Like they're Iranian, but they've never been in Iran or escaped Iran for several reasons. So they're just sitting in their apartment in LA and just saying, "Whoa, Iran is weak, bro." Like this kind of stuff uh, is which is ruins the people, and the people are like, whoa, see, this guy is not in Iran, he managed to immigrate and go So his opinion must be valid, which just makes everything worse, in my opinion. And the other main topic of these opposition groups is the religion in Iran, which, like, if you go onto the streets, like, a lot of people will say they're actually Muslim and Shia, to be more exact. But the opposition groups are like, bro, we were not Muslim, bro. We were forced by Muslims, war, falan, for all this stuff, uh, which is more propaganda, and it these things just makes everything worse. That's the point of what I'm saying. So you can't really ask the public about this stuff. You would have to ask, like, actual analysis to tell you that, like, Iran's actual capabilities. The other thing is, like, for example, on X, it's full of propaganda,
Yeah.
and most of them are actual opposition groups, which are like, as I mentioned, like, bro, like, Israeli strikes just destroyed Iran, bro, like,
Yeah.
stuff like that, which in reality, like, 80-90% of Israeli attack was defended, successful defension of the people, but the Western media or these opposition groups never really mentioned that. Yeah, where were we again?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm aware of this whole propaganda. Even that, the son of Pahlavi. I mean, he's totally like in bed with Israel and Zionists. I mean, this is a pretty open knowledge, and so yeah. I mean, I know
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh no, I know. It's Pahlavi. What's wrong with that?
Is my microphone good now?
Ooh, say something. Not sure. Can you say something? Hello. Can you just say something because I couldn't hear you.
Hello. Is my
It's not really. Yeah, it's not much
hold
better.
on.
But
I had it to get earlier. One sec.
um, so listen, guys. I mean, I want to. I have to wrap this up. I don't want to, go over 1.5 hours. But now, in your assessment, I mean, once shit hits the fan, and you guys get, Iran gets attacked by whatever, false flag psyops, or Israel directly or indirectly proxy, whatever. I mean, would you say, out of your conviction, that Iran can definitely, not only protect and defend their military and material infrastructure and everything else, but also its people with
Yes, Iran
minimal, let's
can.
say, damages and casualties and
Well, well, it depends on the aspect of the attack, like, from the enemies. Like, if it's a full-scale invasion, air, ground, sea, Iran can defend to some extent, but it depends, like, what country is attacking, where Iran is being attacked from. Like, if it's the entirety of NATO, for example, like, to be honest, like, they're like, what 30 countries attacking one country at the same time, so it would be really really hard to defend, but Iran can defend to some extent against those attacks.
As I was saying, Iran definitely is capable of defending its people, infrastructure, stuff like that. We are one of the most sanctioned countries in the entire world right now. I think we are just below Russia by a couple. We obviously have a magnificent internal defense system with just the ground, air defenses, stuff like that. But Iran is becoming staggeringly developed. The West, they are, in my opinion, brainwashed. They think we still ride camels for some reason and live in huts, but we have obviously fully developed cities that are fully technologically modern. Like going into the defenses wise, like the Bavara 373 cyber defenses have obviously rapidly, gotten better, especially after the Stuxnet and domestic military industry and all that stuff, producing drones, missiles, and radars. Um, Obviously, it's not a debate or a theory; it's just 100% proven. We've intercepted attacks. We've, responded to precision strikes. We've kept critical infrastructure under pressure, running. And despite sanctions, the Islamic Republic of Iran, we have continued to prevail. Stuff like that, But protection is not just military; it's redundancy into systems, decentralized energy grids, for example, defense protocols. Are we perfect? No. No country is ever perfect. Um, and like compromise-wise, in the case of like an attack or defense, we can update immediately. We have up-to-date satellite imagery, real time, at any point. Like recently, I'm not sure if you were on my Twitter, but we compromised a Planet Labs.
I read
I'm not
that.
sure if you're
Yeah.
familiar with that.
What does it do?
So it is basically it is a real-time satellite image across all countries all over the globe. We can go to any part of the world and get the real-time image satellite. It updates 5 to 7 times every day, so we are basically getting real-time imagery. We compromised a Western government account, and we were able to use that email to get immediate access to that, and stuff like that. If you have any other questions like that, we'd love.
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions, but let me just say in conclusion. I mean, I'm pretty optimistic, to be honest with you. What Iran's capabilities, technological knowledge, research developments, and whether publicly accessible, like you guys are talking about, or highly secretive, compartmentalized research development. Now, I know from my research, and I even heard a Iranian nuclear engineer tell me and other people that Iran has that, that's why I asked you, has that knowledge, has that technology. Of course, yeah. Do I have the proof of the pudding? Can I show it to? No, not really. But for those listening, what I mean by plasma technology is based on magnetical and gravitational field strength. I mean, in plain English, some call it falsely anti-gravity, which nothing has to do with anti, but which would make this technology, plasma technology, I mean, and they have been using it. I mean, not only Iran, but Russia. You remember maybe the US aircraft carrier many, many years ago, I don't know how long, like 10, 15 years ago, and it had to, the officers stepped back, they resigned because they said it's totally irresponsible. The whole ship was like deactivated. It's like they had to tow it away. And that was plasma technology. And there was a very deep dive, investigative article on Veterans Today. Not sure whether you're familiar with Veterans Today, but is a highly military investigative intelligence journalists and researchers writing about this. So I'm pretty convinced Iran has that. Again, I can't prove it because it's not publicly accessible. But what I'm trying to say is that technology would make conventional, weaponry or missiles or whatever you have, obsolete. Obsolete. Yeah.
I would like to say, plasma technology is one of those fields that sits on like the edge of science, and it can have very strategic capabilities, if that makes any sense. And Iran is very, very aware of its potential, because it's not like the sci-fi concept. It's a state of matter, and it can have a key role in advanced propulsion systems and like energy weapons, stealth technology, and even nuclear research, stuff like that. And there is only some reports, and they are not confirmed in Iran, but there's only some reports, but not inside of Iran has been confirmed, like from some American officials, and no Iranian officials have reported anything close to plasma weapons coming from both the West and us coming in like that. If that made any sense, I'm not sure if I.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it would be stupid to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's highly compartmentalized and highly secretive, right? But you know, all roads lead to the same solution. You know, because you can even derive the knowledge, the comprehension process out of the nuclear technology. Because you know, when we're talking about nuclear, it's like you have to go into the core of the whole topic. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like. But anyway, yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to access it, but it would be great to have someone to dive deeper into them. Maybe someone who can connect the dots, because I'm sure all these even university professors have like highly stringent what do you call it, NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. They can't talk about it.
So here's the thing about like plasma technology itself. Is like none of Iranian officials have ever said anything even close to Iran having such technologies or being working on them. It's all rumors, right? But Iran has mentioned many times that it has some secret weapons that no other countries have and will shock the West, but never really said anything about them. Like, what are they? What type of technology are they? And I just wanted to clarify that.
Sure.
So you can't really connect any dots on this plasma topic because there are not any dots. They're just rumors. That's what I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
The thing is, Russia has publicly disclosed that they are working on plasma weapons. So there are some dots to connect there about Russia, but there are not really any dots to connect about Iran, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you see, we talk about like a science and technology that's been ongoing for, I don't know, for 50 or 70 years, actually. It goes back a long time, but, people cannot just fathom and imagine that these things can be kept secret or compartmentalized and propagandized and, and brainwashed. And there's all kinds of, it's mind blowing. But once you really go deeper into the rabbit hole but people cannot talk about it, even those that are within those research facilities, because it's just dangerous probably to talk about it, right? And this, so guys, Aryan, Ari, Mohsen, thank you so much for sharing your all your knowledge and wisdom. And really, is there can you just tell my listeners, my followers, where can they follow you? Is there any other project you're working on, or Telegram?
So they can. The main things are obviously our Twitters, like all three of our Twitters. We also have a shared Telegram channel called Based Imint, Based IMINT, which we share our findings and analysis on military technology of Iran and other countries if possible. We even, if you look at my Twitter, for example, like I recently did an analysis on Iranian nuclear program, like each nuclear site explained and all that. And for example, Aryan posts about his findings on Iranian tech and I don't know, radar, SAM systems and such. And you can find a combination of all these on our Telegram. So, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that was really detailed, comprehensive analysis. Well, guys, thank you so much. Is there any final words, Aryan, Ali, Mohsen?
Our pleasure. If you have any questions, just let us know.
It was good. It was good. Well, guys, thank you so much, and hope to talk to you soon in the near future.
All right. You're welcome.